Every Halloween, as shadows stretch across empty streets and fog drifts like whispering spirits, animals appear, not just as creatures of nature, but as symbols of fear, superstition, and mystery. The black cat slinks across a moonlit path, the owl stares silently from a twisted branch, and the bat flits silently above the rooftops. To the casual observer, they are just animals, part of the night's scenery. But beneath the surface, each carries centuries of history, myth, and meaning, linking them forever to Halloween's dark heart. Tonight, we will explore these creatures of the night, uncovering the stories that made them icons of terror, luck, and forbidden knowledge. If you dare, stay with me until the end, and remember to subscribe, share, and comment which animal terrifies you the most, because these beasts are more than they seem. The most infamous of Halloween's animal companions is the black cat. Sleek, silent, and mysterious, black cats have long been associated with witches and dark magic. In medieval Europe, a black cat crossing your path was seen as a harbinger of misfortune, a messenger from the spirit world, or even a familiar of a practicing witch. The fear was so ingrained that during the notorious witch hunts, black cats were often killed alongside those accused of witchcraft, believed to carry the souls of the damned. Folklore whispered that witches could transform into black cats at will, prowling the night unnoticed. In some regions of England and Scotland, villagers would avoid the alleyways where black cats prowled, afraid that to meet one's gaze was to invite misfortune or even death. Even today, the black cat remains a potent symbol of Halloween, embodying mystery, danger, and the unknown. Owls are another creature entwined with superstition. Their haunting calls pierce the darkness, sending shivers down the spines of those who hear them at night. In ancient Greece and Rome, owls were associated with wisdom, but also with death and prophecy. A hoot at midnight was often taken as a warning, an omen of change or loss. In medieval Europe, owls were thought to be witches' spies, their silent wings carrying messages between the human world and the spirit realm. Peasant communities would avoid barns or forests where owls nested, believing that their presence signaled unseen dangers. The symbolism of the owl carries a duality, knowledge and foresight, yet also a messenger of fear, perfectly capturing Halloween's balance between fascination and dread. Corvids, particularly crows and ravens, also hold a chilling place in Halloween lore. Their black feathers glisten under moonlight, their eyes sharp and watchful, their calls harsh and unnerving. In many cultures, crows were considered the dead's messengers, appearing when someone's fate was sealed. The Norse god Odin was accompanied by two ravens, Hugin and Munin, whose names meant thought and memory. They observed the world and carried knowledge of mortal deeds. In Celtic mythology, crows were omens of war, disaster, or death. During Halloween, the sight of a crow perched on a fence or tree was not merely a coincidence. It was interpreted as a sign, a reminder that the night belongs to forces unseen, forces that walk among the living and watch, always watch. Moths and bats, too, play their part in the tapestry of Halloween symbolism. Bats, creatures of the night, evoke immediate fear. Their nocturnal habits, silent flight, and association with caves and darkness made them subjects of countless superstitions. In European folklore, bats were believed to be the minions of vampires, carrying death or disease, and in some traditions, their flight patterns predicted coming storms or calamities. Native American myths sometimes portrayed bats as tricksters, cunning and elusive. Yet, the bat's presence at Halloween is not only fearsome, it is a reminder that the night is alive with creatures that see and move in ways humans cannot comprehend. Spiders, often small and overlooked, are equally potent in their symbolism. Their webs, delicate and deadly, are seen as traps for the unwary, both literally and metaphorically. In medieval Europe, spiders were associated with witches, dark spells, and the weaving of fate itself. Seeing a spider on Halloween was considered a warning. Some believed it was the manifestation of a lurking spirit, weaving the threads of destiny for the living. Even today, the sight of a spider silhouetted against a jack-o'-lantern evokes a primal unease, a tiny predator reminding humans of their vulnerability in the dark. Other animals also find their place in Halloween lore. Rats, often black or brown, represent disease and decay, wandering through empty streets or abandoned houses as silent reminders of death. Owlets, young foxes, and even deer in the distance carry with them whispers of superstition, tales of omens, and folklore warnings. Each animal in the Halloween night sky, street, or forest is layered with meaning, drawing on centuries of human attempts to understand the unknown. The psychological impact of these animals cannot be overstated. Humans are wired to react to eyes in the dark, movement in the shadows, and sudden sounds. Black cats, owls, crows, bats, and spiders all trigger an instinctive response: alertness, caution, even fear. Halloween exploits this ancient wiring, combining it with centuries of myth and legend to create a night where every rustle, hoot, flutter, or scuttle carries significance beyond the ordinary. To see a black cat cross your path, to hear an owl's call, or to catch a bat in flight is to confront layers of history, superstition, and human imagination distilled into a moment of suspense. Even modern pop culture leans heavily on these symbols. Films, television, and literature have cemented the connection between certain animals and Halloween, portraying them as companions of witches, harbingers of doom, or guides through dark nights. Children learn early to associate bats, black cats, and spiders with fright, while adults nod knowingly at the historical origins that inspired these fears. The animals are both education and entertainment, blending history, psychology, and horror into living, breathing symbols of the season. And yet, despite the fear and superstition, there is a fascination that draws people closer to these animals. Owls perched silently in a tree, a black cat watching from a rooftop, a bat fluttering past a lantern. They inspire awe as much as dread. Their presence is a reminder that Halloween is not just about costumes or candy, but about the connection between humans and the wild, mysterious forces that have haunted our imagination for millennia. From the witches' familiars of medieval villages to the symbols in modern horror stories, animals play a central role in Halloween's narrative. They are guides, omens, companions, and warnings. To understand Halloween fully is to understand the creatures that share the night, to see beyond the human experience and glimpse the world as it was once feared and revered. As the fog thickens and the shadows lengthen, remember this: every flutter, hiss, hoot, or scuttle is steeped in meaning, some lost to time, some remembered in the tales we tell each October. And when you walk through the streets this Halloween, take a moment to notice the animals around you. The black cat on the fence, the crow on the lamppost, the bat darting across the moonlight. They are not merely passing by, they are the echoes of centuries of superstition, the living symbols of a night when the boundary between fear and fascination is as thin as a spider's web. As Halloween night deepens, the legends of these animals take on even darker hues. Beyond historical superstition, folklore and urban myths have twisted ordinary creatures into symbols of terror and mystery. In rural villages, stories spread of black cats whose eyes glowed red under moonlight, chasing intruders away from sacred or forbidden grounds. People whispered that some cats were not animals at all, but the embodiments of spirits sent to watch, curse, or even claim the living. In some towns, parents would warn children never to touch a black cat on Halloween night, believing that doing so could invite a curse that would last a year. Such tales, whether born from superstition or caution, cemented the black cat's reputation as both an omen and a companion of the night's unseen forces. Owls, too, evolved in folklore beyond mere omens of death. In certain parts of Europe, hearing an owl's hoot 3 times in succession was said to foretell the passing of someone close, while a sudden silent swoop of the bird could signal an unseen presence observing from the shadows. Some Halloween enthusiasts even claim that on the night of October 31st, owls are more active, as if the veil between the living and the dead allows them to communicate with forces humans cannot see. Ancient myths blended with modern lore, creating a chilling tapestry. Owls were no longer just birds, but intermediaries between worlds, reminding every passerby of mortality, fate, and the darkness that hides in plain sight. Crows and ravens, creatures already laden with ominous meaning, became central figures in modern Halloween tales. In American folklore, crows were thought to gather before disasters, sometimes perched silently on rooftops or gravestones, as if counting the living and the dead. Some legends even suggested that crows could speak in human tongues, uttering warnings only the brave or foolish could decipher. On Halloween, when the line between myth and reality blurs, the sudden caw of a crow can ignite the imagination. Is it merely a bird or a herald of something older, darker, waiting just beyond perception? Writers, filmmakers, and storytellers have amplified these stories, turning the crow into a quintessential Halloween icon, representing not just fear, but the ever-watchful presence of history and death intertwined. Bats, though often associated with vampires in popular culture, have a rich and varied symbolic history that Halloween exploits fully. In European folklore, bats were considered the creatures of the underworld, flying silently through the night to observe or transport spirits. Their nocturnal nature and erratic flight inspired fear and fascination alike. Modern urban legends speak of bats swooping into homes, but not to harm. Rather, they are seen as messengers, warnings, or watchers for forces unseen. In some Native American traditions, bats were tricksters, representing cleverness, mischief, and transformation. On Halloween, every fluttering bat carries centuries of cultural weight, reminding humans that the night is not theirs alone, and that the small creatures of darkness can hold secrets more profound than any costume or decoration might suggest. Spiders, small yet potent, continue to fascinate and frighten, in addition to their historical association with witches and fate. Modern stories have turned them into guardians of cursed treasures, familiars of hidden spirits, or indicators of haunted spaces. A spider descending silently from the rafters, silhouetted against the glow of a jack-o'-lantern, is more than a creature. It is a living symbol, a reminder that some aspects of Halloween are rooted in fear as old as civilization itself. Some tales suggest that touching a spider's web on Halloween can bind a person's destiny or awaken latent misfortune, ensuring that even the smallest animal carries power over human perception and anxiety. Even animals less obvious, foxes, owls young, deer glimpsed in misty forests, and rats scuttling across empty streets, contribute to Halloween's atmosphere. Each carries symbolism of cunning, death, vigilance, or decay. In some cultures, foxes were tricksters, guiding humans into danger. In others, they were guardians of sacred spaces. Rats reminded communities of plague and death, echoing the fears that shaped societies. Every movement, sound, and shadow of these animals adds a layer of suspense, connecting the modern celebration of Halloween to a deep human instinct, to observe, to fear, and to interpret the world through symbols that extend beyond human understanding. The interplay of animals and human psychology is particularly striking on Halloween. Humans are wired to recognize predators, threats, and anomalies in their environment. Animals active at night trigger this instinct automatically. A black cat crossing a path, an owl perched silently above, or the flutter of a bat evokes alertness and primal fear. Halloween amplifies this response, turning instinct into narrative. The creatures themselves are relatively harmless, yet our minds imbue them with centuries of symbolic meaning. The night, the fog, the costumes, and the shadows combine to create a theater where animals are actors and fear is the script. Modern media and popular culture have amplified these associations. Horror films, cartoons, and literature depict black cats as witches' familiars, bats as vampire companions, and spiders as omens of dark magic. Decorations, costumes, and urban legends ensure that even children grow up associating these animals with mystery, fear, and the supernatural. Halloween has codified the symbolism, but the roots extend deep into history, blending reality, imagination, and superstition into a continuous thread that connects modern observers. with the fears of their ancestors. But Halloween is not just about fear, it is also about fascination and reflection. Observing a black cat's sleek movement, hearing an owl's haunting call, or watching a bat glide through moonlight can evoke awe as well as dread. The animals are bridges between worlds, living reminders of nature, history, and the supernatural. They teach respect for the night and its hidden inhabitants, warning that even the smallest creatures may carry messages we are not equipped to understand. As the night progresses, remember that these animals are not merely decorative elements of a holiday. They are symbols steeped in centuries of meaning. Every shadow, hoot, caw, flutter, or scuttle is a connection to the past, a reflection of humanity's attempt to understand life, death, and the mysteries that lie between. From folklore to modern urban legends, from psychological triggers to cinematic portrayals, animals shape Halloween's identity as much as costumes, pumpkins, or candy. So as you walk through the streets this October 31st, notice the animals that share the night with you. The black cat watching silently from a fence, the owl perched on a twisted branch, the bat flitting above, the spider weaving a web in the corner. They are more than creatures. They are warnings, symbols, and reminders of a world where the line between the living and the unseen is thinner than you imagine. And if you survive this journey through the beasts of Halloween, remember, every October these animals return, carrying with them centuries of fear, myth, and fascination. Share this story, comment on the animal that terrifies you most, and subscribe to uncover more dark truths hidden in the shadows of tradition. Because in Halloween, the creatures of the night are not just observers. They are participants in a ritual that has lasted for millennia, reminding us that fear, wonder, and the unknown are never far away.